Okay, that movie was so good. I hope Shinichiro Ueda, who seems like a modest guy in spite of the success with this film, I hope he goes on to have a long career. Every time he does an interview, people make him look into the camera lens and say, "Keep rolling." And so that's what I'm going to title my closing remarks tonight, Keep Rolling, because what did we just watch? Austin, we need this to be on a jib.
All right.
Crane shot, you know, give me a high angle. Austin Jennings, our director.
Stand forward, check focus.
Austin frequently pulls off miracles, just like Higurashi in the movie. What have we been watching tonight? Nothing to do with zombies, that's for sure. You know, it's a love letter to filmmaking and filmmakers, and especially low-budget filmmakers. And it's about how even the corniest, underfunded concept requires a miracle of teamwork to pull off. It's about what we call our mutant family, the audience and the filmmaker, the people who get it, the people who are there every time somebody like Shinichiro Ueda or Lloyd Kaufman come out of nowhere and create something that corporate filmmaking just could never achieve. You know, I go to a lot of conventions and film festivals, and there's always that one guy who wants to talk to me about his movie. You know, "Joe Bob, help me make my movie." And then he gives me 100 reasons why he can't make the movie. He has no money. He can't afford a fancy film school. He doesn't know anybody in Hollywood. His friends and family roll their eyes every time he talks about his movie because it's taken so long, and they don't really think he'll ever make it. He's not really a writer or director. He works at an auto body repair shop, and he hates his job. But he has to keep doing it because he has a kid to support and a ridiculous amount of student loans. And so how could he ever find the time to work on his film? So One Cut of the Dead gives me a chance to say to every aspiring filmmaker who watches this show, because that's what they call themselves, aspiring filmmakers when they talk to me, I'm going to say right now what I say to every one of them. Here's how to make your movie. First of all, stop being an aspiring filmmaker. Never again use the word aspiring. When you wake up tomorrow morning and every day after that, you're a director. You may do any number of jobs to make money, but the first thing you do every day is you plan your writing and your directing and your producing work for that day. I don't care if you only have 10 minutes of free time. You devote that time to your movie because you're a filmmaker. That's your real job. You're not an auto body repairman. Call yourself a filmmaker. Make filmmaking decisions. Fuck aspiring, all right? Numero 2. It's not 1970. You don't need a fancy film school. Anything you don't know, it's on the internet or at the library. Anything. 100% of what you need to know. We no longer live in a world where you have to go to USC or NYU to get noticed. If you can afford film school, there are at least 30 outstanding ones. If you can't, don't sweat it. You're going to homeschool yourself, and you're going to know everything there is to know about lenses, aspect ratios, types of cameras, lighting schemes, production design, acting, art direction, screenwriting, story structure, scene beats, shot framing, all the other aspects of film that were once such well-guarded secrets that you had to apprentice in a union to learn them. All that knowledge is yours. Just go get it. There's no excuse for you knowing less about filmmaking than Quentin Tarantino or John Carpenter or Martin Scorsese. 3, there is no Hollywood. The worst thing you could do is move to LA and get lost in the crowd of confused seekers out there. Lloyd Kaufman has been involved with 1,000 films, but he started with a cheap comedy about a women's softball team that nobody in Hollywood wanted. Shinichiro Ueda started with a student film that played one night at a film festival in a town of 8,000 people, and Hollywood is calling him. When you make your movie, you're already standing at Hollywood and Vine. 4th, you don't need money. Stop using that as an excuse. Great scripts don't cost anything. Learn to write one. Cameras cost 1% of what they cost 20 years ago. Editing software is free. Professional editing software is so cheap you can probably skip one night at the bar to pay for it. There are great actors in your community. Scour the college drama departments and you'll find them. The words "pretty good for the money," those words no longer exist in your vocabulary. You got enough money. And when people start seeing your devotion to the project, more money will appear. Field of Dreams is not about baseball, it's about film. Build the stadium. Finally, be prepared to fall on your face. Be prepared to fall on your face over and over again. Be prepared to write a crappy script and then rewrite it into a crappier script and then rewrite it again before you start to discover what's wrong with it. Be prepared to be unprepared until you figure out how production planning works. Be prepared to fail for a day or a week or a year, but don't ever say, I'm not a filmmaker. You're a filmmaker. That's what filmmakers do. They fail until they don't. And then send me your movie, because believe it or not, I'm dying to see it. We all are. We just didn't know it until you made it. Okay, Austin, I'm done with the jib.